Good evening, I'm Penny Tame. Welcome to 6 o'clock. Tonight, the Waratah Wynyard Council talks up the development of a $15 million resort, Clements Marshall devastated by multi-million-dollar loss, and claims extra money went to the now defunct Our Place board. A $15 million resort development has been earmarked for Tasmania's northwest coast. Fossil Bluff, near Wynyard, is being targeted as the preferred location for the new luxury complex.
A former Tasmanian resident's dream to build a resort at Fossil Bluff is now one step closer to becoming a reality. 10 hectares of land has been approved for the project, but there's still a long way to go before the proposal is given the green light.
It's Mr P's intention to use all local product, and not only in the development but also in the management and the running of the facility once it's up.
The contemporary style complex will be built out of local timbers and stone and will boast an array of attractions from a pony club to an animal farm. The resort will also feature 58 units, a conference area, lounge, dining rooms and kitchen. Other facilities include a swimming pool and sauna.
The average individual is going to be encouraged to go there.
A large slice of the resort's clientele will be those travelling to the northwest coast on business, although it's also hoping to tap into Melbourne and Sydney's conference market. For 6 o'clock, I'm Sarah Mitev.
One of the state's oldest agricultural companies, Clements Marshall, is forecasting a loss close to $3 million for the past financial year. The surprising news throws a shadow over the future of the state's multi-million-dollar onion exporting industry.
Now almost fully owned by Webster Limited, with the former livestock company now holding 96% of Clements Marshall's, its onion operation, Field Fresh Tasmania, has come up against some big hurdles in European markets and taken a big tumble, a loss of $2.8 million.
The prices being achieved are much lower than expectation, and they're at a historical low.
Trade liberalisation in the European Union is proving an ongoing threat. Already, Tasmania's onion exports have lost 13,000 tonnes of exports this year.
Freed up trade across borders, and they're encouraging production in areas that didn't produce previously.
For the state's 160 onion growers, the future already looks gloomy, with talk of new contracts being $5 per tonne lower than this year, and now their biggest onion buyer is in the red.
I guess this is one of the worst downers we've had.
The company's loss sends a warning signal to growers.
Some will view onions with more caution than they have in the past.
Clements Marshall says its recovery will be based on meeting new market trends.
We're reworking our position now with our major customers, and we would set up a position into the future where we agree on principles of supply.
For 6 o'clock, I'm Margaret Decker.
The state opposition claims the board of Devonport's now defunct disability service provider Our Place was overpaid by more than $370,000. Liberal member for Braddon, Tony Rundle, is also demanding the government release an independent auditor's report into the organisation's financial demise.
It's about time Premier Bacon made a clean sweep, got rid of Mrs Jackson and relieved Mrs Bladell of her acting role in this schmozzle and put some competent minister in charge.
Our Place workers are still owed $500,000 in entitlements. A new era for retail shopping in Launceston today, with the opening of a $7 million complex at Mowbray. It features a state-of-the-art Rolf Voss supermarket, attracting a large crowd on its opening day.
Staff at the new news agency were still preparing their store this morning, even as curious shoppers were busy checking out the latest addition to the northern suburbs. The supermarket features the latest in checkout technology and includes 5,000 more grocery items and similar-sized stores. Rolf Voss says the decision to build was based on careful research.
Demographically, it's a good area. There's a lot of people living in the area. There was certainly some land available here with the old racecourse land.
Covering about 6 hectares, the development also includes a Rolf Voss Petrol Plus and several smaller specialty stores. And with more than 200 retail workers employed at the centre, it's a morale boost for the local area.
Should be very good. It's in the northern suburbs, and Mowbray sort of needs a bit of a spark in it and something bright to come to.
The centre is expected to attract a large proportion of the local retail market, and shoppers say it's a much-needed development in the area.
We really need it, yeah. We really need a bit of competition.
A lot closer than we normally go. Don't have to travel all the way to Kings Meadows no more.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. Yes, beautiful. All nice and new and very fresh.
For 6 o'clock, I'm Travis Parry.
Meantime, Rolf Voss has thrown down the gauntlet to rival petrol companies with today's opening of 2 new Petrol Plus outlets. The move is expected to start a mini price war, with the retail giant undercutting competitors by up to 6 cents. Today, the price for unleaded petrol was 93.5 cents a litre, but for customers spending $150 on groceries, the price drops to 87.5. Well, the Federal Treasurer says today was to be the first real test of his government's GST, and on the streets of northern Tasmania, customers and traders alike were settling into the sweeping tax reform. The overwhelming response, the transition's been surprisingly painless.
That's $65.95 with GST. Thanks very much.
Like it or not, the 3-letter word is here to stay, and northern Tasmania's shoppers are getting used to it.
Is it as bad as you thought it would be?
No. You've just got to make your adjustments and deal with it.
But while shoppers may be prepared, some traders still aren't.
We cannot physically do all of our retagging within less than a 2 or 3 week period.
The store compromising with signs to alleviate confusion.
3 days into the GST, and northern Tasmania's traders have been reporting a lull after the big rush of late last week.
Everyone spent right up till Friday, and then come Saturday they all just disappeared, and we won't know till probably midweek.
Electrical retailers, on the other hand, have enjoyed after GST mayhem.
Mainly brown goods, televisions and videos. There were certainly consumers out there knowing what they wanted, and they were in on Saturday morning bright and early.
Car dealers, however, are still waiting for the anticipated rush, the GST driving their prices down by an average of 6%.
It's been difficult in the last 2 or 3 months as people have waited. Obviously our cash flows have been slower, and certainly I think that'll reflect in the next 2 or 3 months.
All traders looking for a boost when income tax breaks begin flowing through this week. For 6 o'clock, I'm Lisa Honeywell.
Convicted abalone poacher David Campbell-Strawn has lodged an appeal in the Supreme Court against his 2-year prison sentence for abalone poaching. Strawn, 48 of Victoria, remains in custody over a variety of charges, including breaching a control order designed to keep him out of Tasmanian waters. The Crown has also appealed a decision to base Strawn's penalties on the weight of fish taken instead of the number of fish. Both matters have been adjourned to a later date. Launceston detectives are investigating an overnight jewellery heist from a store in the Quadrant Mall. A value isn't being revealed for the stolen goods, which included expensive rings and bracelets.
Police were alerted to the theft by a security alarm just before 3 this morning. Proprietor Neil Watson arrived shortly after to find the front window smashed and a hole cut in the security grille.
Bolt cutters to cut through the security grille and a sledgehammer on the window.
While police say they're pursuing a lead, they would like to hear from anyone who was in the area of the Quadrant Mall in the early hours of this morning. There's also a warning that the offenders may try and sell the jewellery, mainly rings and bracelets similar to these.
Probably the usual second-hand shops and down the local pub or something.
But for Mr Watson, who's been burgled 5 times over the 13 years he's operated the business, it's back to work.
Yeah, the grill will be fixed today and back into action again. Buy some more stock.
For 6 o'clock, I'm Gina Richmond.
You're watching 6 o'clock. When we return, developing survival strategies for Rosebery Hospital and the changeover to a new mobile phone network.
What if Ross had stayed married to a lesbian? Joe had never been fired from Days of Our Lives, and Monica was still fat.
Oh my God, you're a 30-year-old virgin!
It's a very special All New Friends tonight on Win.
My baby don't care for shows. My baby don't care for clothes. My baby just cares for me. My baby don't care for cars and races. My baby don't care for high-tone places. My baby just cares for My baby just cares for. My baby
After all these years, and even after GST, they're still only 30 cents.
Go Harvey Norman for affordable prices on a stereo system to suit your lifestyle. Pay just $329 for this Sharp CD micro system with full function remote. This Sony Mezzo CD, a mini disc micro system with remote control, great value at $869. Hurry in for a Pioneer L Plus micro system with 50 watts RMS subwoofer and remote control, $1299. Stereo systems at affordable prices, available now from Harvey Norman.
Now, you don't have to leave town to get the freshest produce at low, low prices. The fresh food people are having a farm gate sale. There's truckloads of the freshest fruit and vegetables at farm fresh prices. Get 4 kilos of Kennebec potatoes for $2.69, the same price as a 2.5 kilo bag. And mandarins just $1.67 a kilo. Now that's a farm fresh price. There's 2 kilo bags of carrots for just $1.97, and Hass avocados are 3 for $1.98. For the freshest fruit and vegetables at farm fresh prices, hurry in for the farm gate sale. Only at the fresh food people.
Hello, coming up at 6:30 on Win News. On day 3 of the new tax regime, the state government is being blamed for the fluctuating price of petrol in Tasmania. A proposal for a whale sanctuary in the southern Pacific is unlikely to succeed after being fought by Japan at an international whaling conference in Adelaide. And there have been wild scenes in Paris as France celebrates its victory over Italy in soccer's Euro 2000. Join me at 6:30 right after 6 o'clock. Now, back to Penny.
Thank you, Tom. The future of the Rosebery Hospital is once again under the public spotlight. Representatives from the hospital's board and health department attended a meeting in Burnie today to review the facility's services and financial situation.
What we're doing here is trying to make sure that the review that we undertake will look at that predominantly to make sure that there is sufficient funds and that we can operate within our income levels.
An independent consultant who will undertake a review of the hospital services is expected to be named in the next few days. It was out with the old and in with the new at the weekend when Tasmania lost its analogue mobile phone coverage. The much talked about replacement CDMA network is being put to the test in the north, with only a small number of areas reporting inferior reception.
D-Day came midnight Friday. Telstra's analogue phone coverage axed in Tasmania. A late rush on phone dealers ensured most users avoided dead air.
Last week and the previous week, we sold a lot of CDMA and GSM phones, and by and large, people are happy with them.
That's a very different story from other parts of Australia where poor CDMA reception has sparked widespread outcry, particularly in isolated rural areas. Here, the Farmers and Graziers Association has been keeping a close eye on the changeover and is pleased there are only minor reception problems.
Just quirks of terrain have meant that some people that received analogue may have problem with CDMA.
The Farmers and Graziers pushing for an overall review of the state's mobile phone reception.
What we really are looking forward to is extended towers so that those areas can be picked up. Central Highlands of Tasmania is one very good example.
The TFGA will meet with the review committee in a fortnight to discuss boosted infrastructure. For 6 o'clock, I'm Lisa Honeywell.
A century of proud tradition is on show this week at St Luke's Private Hospital in Launceston. Former staff and patients have gathered to remember the past as the hospital celebrates 100 years.
Cartier Neep is only a few days old. Born at St Luke's Private Hospital, Cartier and her mother Latina continue a century-old tradition of care at the facility, formerly known as the Homeopathic Hospital.
They look after you really well and make sure that you're happy and that everything's going all right, and meals are wonderful here, which is nice.
Yesterday marked the hospital's 100th birthday. Staff and patients, both past and present, returning to reminisce of days gone by. Maisie Scott recalls a time 48 years ago when she was hospitalised for gallstones and later developed scarlet fever.
And I was isolated into a room on my own and all my skin peeled off. It was terrible. My ears had the skin hanging off them and I looked terrible. I didn't like to even look at myself.
What began as a small 10-bed facility has now grown into the state's second largest private hospital. Initially, it specialised in natural remedies, but soon developed into a respected acute medical facility, regularly performing major surgical procedures. It now boasts a 200-strong workforce.
I think that the staff are absolutely wonderful. They're great to work with. I really appreciate the help that they give me.
The original hospital was built at St John Street but moved to the current site in Littleton Street in 1918. The buildings have been renovated throughout the century, resulting in today's facility.
We've always looked to see what is needed in the community before we've actually gone ahead and put our money behind that need.
Memorabilia from the past 100 years is on show, including the original book documenting the hospital board's first meeting. For 6 o'clock, I'm Travis Parry.
Launceston musician David Peters has been elected president of the National Band Council of Australia. It's a shot in the arm for Tasmania's band movement, which attracted the Australian Championships to Launceston earlier this year.
Although small in size compared to the larger states, we have a very strong banding movement here and the quality is quite high. So I think it's an acknowledgement that we are a real part of it.
Mr Peters is also Tasmania's Director of Racing. Tasmania's Indigenous community is uniting this week to celebrate the survival of Aboriginal culture. NAIDOC Week, beginning today, aims to build pride within the Aboriginal community.
The raising of the Aboriginal flag marked the start of NAIDOC Week. It's a time of pride for Indigenous people, an annual celebration that began in Tasmania 28 years ago.
We've always participated very strongly because it's a time where we come together as a community to celebrate not only the survival of ourselves, but of our cultural practices.
Marking the occasion, the opening of a community art exhibition in Launceston. However, the week's highlight is a performance of traditional dances.
Basically the first traditional dance done by Tasmanian Aboriginals as a group that I know of, and also it's our youth, so it'll play a very big part in NAIDOC Week.
But celebrations don't end this week.
But I think the 23rd of this month is going to be a significant event occurring, and that's the walk across the Tasman Bridge in Hobart. And we hope that everyone can join in on that walk.
For 6 o'clock, I'm Melissa Rainier.
Joining us now with sport is Gary Magnussen.
Good evening, Penny, and good evening to you. Tonight, the Cavaliers fight for the finals, and we meet Tasmania's new racing steward all the way from South Africa.
If I don't know this answer as well as I know my own name, I'm walking.
And Trevor did with $64,000 and a big smile.
Now let's go.
With reactions like this, we must be doing something right. Who wants to be a millionaire? 8:30 tonight on Win.
Get started today at Harvey Norman with Quicken GST-ready QuickBooks software.
Running a small business, I didn't know what to do about the GST. Then I got QuickBooks. It's simply easier to use than any other accounting software. Now I'm GST ready, I can get on with growing my business.
QuickBooks software enables you to create invoices, track unpaid bills, calculate charges on overdue payments, monitor inventory, track debtors and creditors, and business activity statement reporting, plus more for only $189.
You know how that new hair colour can make you feel like a new person? But then that colour fades? I don't have that problem. That's because new Sunsilk Colour Lock shampoo actually locks in up to 50% more colour. So I can enjoy the new me day after day after day. New Sunsilk Colour Lock. Lock colour in with a touch of silk.
Vote 1 Chicken Feed. He works hard to bring you the best value, hunts down the best bargains, and drives down the prices. Quality wooden letterboxes, just $19.95. Men's briefs in fantastic colours, $1.50. Heaps of Chubba Chubs, any 3 for just $1. Ladies' fluffy animal prints or plain slippers, $5.99. And cane pet baskets with padded lining, 7 sizes to choose from, $15 for jumbo to a crazy $2. Vote 1 Chicken Feed, your fighter for cheaper prices.
At Pizza Haven, we haven't just tackled the competition. We've also got a deal that'll knock you for 6. 3 large pizzas for just $21.95 delivered. Thank goodness we know how to make great pizza.
Join Tom Payne for Win News, now out on its own, weeknights at the new time of 6:30, followed by a current affair at 7.
Good evening. Tonight in World Sport, France has added a European Soccer Championship to its World Cup title after defeating Italy. But first, in local sports news, the Northern Bombers continue to dominate the statewide league. They're 2 games clear after round 12 over the weekend. However, the big news is Glenorchy, the reigning premiers, have been knocked out of finals contention. There's no love lost between Glenorchy and Clarence, but it was the Roos who emerged the victors after this scrap, flogging their arch rivals by 102 points.
Yeah, it was a tough match, and it was just the way it went. We just weren't good enough on the day.
Still sporting scratches and stitches, Stevenson is philosophical about the loss, but denies reports over the weekend that he's ready to do a Tim Watson and quit mid-season.
Pretty disappointed after the game, and I'm not going to make any decisions until the season's finished. I've got a few things to weigh up, so it was just an off-the-cuff comment.
The state manager of Vocorp will weigh up his career options at the end of the season, but he's urged fans still revelling in last year's grand final victory to hang on, saying the Premiers have been hit by both retirements and injuries.
It has been a rough trot this season. I think the fans have just got to be patient with the way things have gone this year, and I think next year with some recruiting, and if we can keep the group together, I think we'll be a very competitive unit next year.
The Tasmanian Institute of Sport has moved to heal the public rift with Athletics Australia. TIS Director Bridget Jocelyn today held peace talks in Melbourne after being accused of not providing enough funding for our elite track and field stars. Athletics Australia has threatened to establish a breakaway academy for local athletes, but today the parties agreed to work together to establish a high-performance athletics program. More peace talks are scheduled for the very near future. The Tasmania Netball League is building towards an exciting climax. Some southern teams now have a chance of making the finals after the Launceston Cavaliers' weekend loss to BPs.
The Cavaliers went through the regular season last year undefeated and fell at the last hurdle, losing the grand final to OHA. Defeat at the hands of BPs on the weekend has not only reopened the finals race, but brings back some bad memories.
That's what we actually commented on after the game. It felt like we were reliving the grand final from last year. Nothing came together on the night.
For a team with possibly the best shooters in the competition, the prospect of missing the Final Four will ensure a determined approach to the remaining games.
Our coach sort of spoke to us and said that basically if we don't sort of pick up, we're not going to make the finals this year, and that's what we really want.
While Excel remain undefeated and the Southern Lights Academy registered their first win of the season, the real ladder action will continue to focus on fourth position in the coming weeks. For 6 o'clock, I'm Rob Cross.
Hobart Hurricanes basketballer Rachel Atkins is at home recovering after a heavy collision during Saturday's game in Launceston. She was forced to spend a night in hospital under observation, but has been cleared of spinal damage or broken bones. Atkins will miss the remaining 2 games of the season. The sport of lacrosse is being showcased in Tasmania this week. Hobart is hosting the National Women's Championships, which will be followed by a Tri-Nation Test Series. It's not a sport for the faint-hearted. In fact, lacrosse was developed as a war game.
It originates with the Canadian Indians, and then with the French invasion it got its name lacrosse, the stick.
Tasmania has a do-or-die match against New South Wales this Wednesday if they're any chance of making the national finals. But the state is relishing the selection of Alicia Moody in the Australian Test team.
First time a Tasmanian player has ever actually played in an official Test match for Australia, so very big, very special day for us.
On Sunday, an Australia A side will play the USA, who are current world champions, while the Australian team faces England.
There's world growth plans for it to be played in enough countries and supported strongly enough to be in the Olympics, and we certainly think it's one of the most interesting games to play.
Changes to the format of Racing Tasmania's stewards panel are now complete, with the Thoroughbred Code welcoming a new chairman of stewards. South African Johan Petzer commenced his 5-year contract today.
With 10 years' experience as a thoroughbred steward in South Africa, Mr Petzer brings extensive knowledge and ideals to a position at the forefront of racing's integrity.
Objectivity, integrity, making sure that when you exercise control, you do it in a dispassionate way.
In addition to his racing background, Mr Petzer has degrees in law and science. His legal training ideally complementing his role as chairman of stewards.
Basic understanding of the legal principles, natural justice, which is a very important part in stewarding, especially when it comes to inquiry level.
He has been closely following racing trends in Australia via the internet and would not be drawn on last year's controversial Trenbolone inquiry.
That's water under the bridge. You start fresh and new and go ahead and see what the future holds.
Mr Petzer will officiate at his first local race meeting at Mowbray on Saturday. For 6 o'clock, I'm Rob Cross.
And Penny, for our first night on air, that's the sport.
Thank you, Gary. All the weather details are after the break, and a national photographic exhibition unveiled in Launceston.
It's the mid-year grand final of Australia's funniest home videos, Tuesday on Win.
I used to tell myself that I could give up smoking any time. Then I did. 4 times. This time, I got some help. Nicobate lets me down gradually, taking the edge off the cravings. It isn't easy, but there's help every step of the way. With Nicobate, you can start with the highest strength patch and gradually step down until you free yourself of the need. With willpower, Nicobate can help you stay calm, in control, and quit.
To learn more about how Nicobate can help, see your pharmacist.
From little to big, catch all the action of this year's sports with a new TV from Harvey Norman. This handy Casio 2.3-inch LCD portable TV, great value at $199. For the ultimate in viewing, this feature pack 68cm LG Flatron stereo TV, $1439. Sony gives you the best seat in the house at all this year's sports events with this huge 121cm stereo rear projection TV for $4834.
Vote 1 Chicken Feed. He works hard to bring you the best value, hunts down the best bargains and drives down the prices. Quality wooden letterboxes just $19.95. Men's briefs in fantastic colours $1.50. Heaps of Chubba Chups, any 3 for just $1. Ladies' fluffy animal prints or plain slippers $5.99. And cane pet baskets with padded lining, 7 sizes to choose from, $15 for jumbo to a crazy $2. Vote 1 Chicken Feed, your fighter for cheaper prices.
Inna sinik papabulunga tuna tempera tudla turunga. Tuwaka diga ilan allanik ismobluni.
Too much chili.
Tonight's air quality report is brought to you by Aurora. For a cleaner, healthier Tasmania.
Launceston's air quality tomorrow will be poor, so please use your wood heaters efficiently.
Tonight's weather is proudly brought to you by Medibank Private, the experts in lifetime health cover.
Drizzle was reported about the northeast and east coast today. It was fine elsewhere after early frost and fog patches. The temperature range for Launceston was 0 to 11 degrees. Burnie and Devonport recorded 8 to 13, Hobart 7 to 13 degrees, Bridport 5 to 14 and Lake Leak -3 to 7 degrees. To the coastal waters forecast, a strong wind warning is current for the far northwest from Sandy Cape to Stanley and King Island. East to northeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots becoming established throughout the night and tomorrow, reaching 20 to 30 knots in the far northwest around Cape Grim. Looking to the swells, southwesterlies up to 2 metres for the west, and for the south, chiefly northeasterly swells rising up to 2 metres. For the east, east to northeasterly swells up to 2 metres. For the inland waters, variable northeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots persisting tomorrow. To our weather throughout the state tomorrow, drizzle about the east and northeast, extending along the north coast tomorrow, but fine elsewhere. For Launceston, early fog patches, then fine. Hobart fine and 13. Burnie and Devonport mainly fine 13. And Swansea early drizzle also 13. The outlook for Launceston, early fog or drizzle on Wednesday, clearing to a fine day for Thursday and Friday. For Burnie and Devonport, mostly fine for Wednesday and Thursday. Hobart, fine from Wednesday through to Friday, with some early drizzle on Saturday. Strawn, fine with showers developing Thursday evening, but clearing on Friday. Occasional drizzle for St Helens and Swansea, then clearing on Friday. Fiona will be along with an update in half an hour. Some of Australia's best photo art has gone on display in Launceston today. The National Exhibition of Photography is being held at the City Library all this week. The nature display, the major draw card.
We're of a very high standard because we're fortunate in Australia to have 2 or 3 of the world's top nature photographers, and we have them entering here.
The exhibition also features a selection of slides to be shown at the West Tame Camera Club's meeting this Wednesday night. The display moves to the northwest coast next month. And that's 6 o'clock for Monday the 3rd of July. I'm Penny Tame. Thanks for joining me. Stay with us for Win News next with Tom Payne. Good night.
This has been a Win News presentation from Australia's largest regional television network.